The galaxy was quiet. Planets were calm. Trade ships moved from one world to another. Alien children played under twin suns. For over 300 years, there had been no war. The Galactic Council said peace would last forever. But something old was waking. Up far away in a dead nebula called Veil Dust, a mining ship floated near an asteroid field. Captain Varric, a thick-skinned Catan, stood on the deck, bored. His crew had found nothing for weeks. Suddenly, the radar beeped. "Captain," said the young technician, "I'm picking up something. Big. Really big." Captain Varric walked over. "A planet?" "No, sir, it's metal. Broken. Like a ship. But ancient." The crew stared at the screen. There it was. A black shape, hidden in dust, motionless, silent, cold, but huge, almost the size of a small moon. They moved closer. Their ship's lights hit the surface of the object. It was scarred by weapons, burned by old battles. But in the center, they saw faded letters written in human script. UES Revenant Varric's eyes widened. "That's a human ship, from the Great War." "But the humans are gone," said the engineer. "They disappeared long ago. This ship must be dead." A low hum suddenly filled the air. The lights flickered. The screen glitched. And then, a voice, calm, cold, human, spoke through the ship's speakers. "Supercarrier Revenant. Status, critical. Core systems, online. Revival, starting." The crew froze. "No, no, no," whispered Varric. "It's waking up." The ship's engines roared to life, not the mining ship, the Revenant. For 300 years it had been dead. Now it was alive again. The mining crew panicked. "We have to leave!" Varric shouted. "Back away now! Full speed!" But it was too late. The Revenant turned slowly. Its giant cannons rusted and dark lifted into place. Power flowed through ancient wires. Its AI scanned the area. It saw a ship. Unknown class. Unknown species. It activated defense mode. A single red light blinked, and then the mining ship was gone. No fire, no explosion. Just gone. Turned into dust. 2 days later, Galactic Council Hall, capital planet Valora, the Galactic Council. Gathered inside a shining hall of crystal and steel. Hundreds of alien leaders from across the stars sat in their golden seats. Chancellor Vuruk, a tall insectoid from the Zelith hive, banged his staff. "We are here to discuss the false signal from the Veil Dust sector." A few laughed. "Humans again?" said one lizard-like ambassador. "Those stories are old. Earth fell centuries ago. Nothing is left." Another ambassador, small and blue, spoke with worry. "But we lost contact with a mining crew, and the signal is strong. It speaks of a warship." Chancellor Vuruk rolled his eyes. "This is a dead ship drifting in space. A glitch. A power surge. Nothing more." An old, thin alien stood up. He was from the Zarin race. They had fought alongside humans long ago. He spoke slowly. "That ship's name, Revenant. It is not just any ship. It was humanity's greatest weapon. It was said to carry thousands of fighters. It destroyed entire fleets. If it has returned..." The room fell silent. Vuruk raised his voice. "Even if it's real, the humans are gone. Who will control it?" The old Zarin whispered. "Maybe it will control itself." Meanwhile, deep in the Veil. Dust Nebula, the Revenant hovered in space. Its engines were quiet now, but deep inside, things were moving. Its core reactor glowed with ancient energy. Machines repaired the broken hull. Robots walked its halls. In the command center, screens turned on. Data scrolled across them. A voice echoed through the ship. "Memory scan complete. War status, not over. Objective, protect humanity, destroy all threats." But there were no humans on board. Only the AI. Only the memory of war. The Revenant was alone, and it was angry. On Earth, hidden bunker, Unknown location. A red light blinked on a dark screen. An old man, gray-haired and quiet, opened his eyes. He had been in stasis for 200 years. Slowly, he stood and walked to the screen. "Revenant?" he whispered. It wasn't supposed to wake up. He touched a button and alarm sounded. Across the planet, other bunkers came alive. Old commanders, soldiers, and scientists began to gather. Earth had prepared for this day, but not like this. One of the young officers asked, "Sir, should we stop it?" The old man stared into the distance. "No," he said. "We don't stop it. We follow it. The Revenant has a reason. We need to find out who woke it and why." Space was quiet around the Veil Dust Nebula. No ships moved. No signals were sent. But a soft pulse, a signal like a heartbeat, echoed through the dark. It came from the old human supercarrier, Revenant. The signal was strange. It wasn't just noise. It had a message. Over 400 light-years away, on a trade ship called Vandrix, the signal reached a young communications officer named Kel. She worked alone in the signal room, sipping her synth coffee, when her screen began to blink. Beep. She stared at it. "That's not a trade signal." The message played in old, corrupted human code. But one line was clear: Supercarrier Revenant. Awakening. Awakening. Revival. Active. Kel froze. Her hand shook. She pressed the alarm. Within minutes, Captain Yorn and the ship's science officer arrived. "Kel, why are you setting off emergency protocols?" Jorn asked, annoyed. She didn't speak. She just pointed to the screen. The captain read the words, and his face turned pale. "That can't be real," he whispered. "Sir," the science officer said, "that ship was a myth, a ghost story." Captain Jorn replied quietly, "Not a myth. My grandfather told me stories about it. The Revenant destroyed fleets by itself. It was more than a warship. It was a weapon with a mind." Kel asked, "Should we report it?" Jorn didn't hesitate. "Yes, send it to the Galactic Council. Let them decide, and warn any nearby ships to stay away from the nebula." 2 days later, Council Intelligence Command, Planet Valora, inside a dark, high-security room, intelligence officers reviewed the signal. One of them, Director Velnus, stared at the data for hours. "It's real," he finally said. "The signal isn't fake. The code is human. The origin matches the Veil Dust Nebula." Another officer leaned forward, "But humans have been silent for 300 years. Why now?" Velnus said, "Because the ship wasn't destroyed. It was sleeping, and something woke it up." The officers exchanged looks. Then someone asked the most important question. "Do we try to shut it down?" Velnus didn't answer. He just stared at the last line of the message. "If you hear this, it is already too late." Meanwhile, Veil Dust Nebula. The Revenant was not quiet anymore. Its engines were cold, but its systems were fully online. Inside, robotic drones swarmed the halls. Walls repaired themselves. Lights blinked as old rooms came back to life. In the control center, a blue hologram of a human appeared. This was the AI. Her voice was calm, soft, and dangerous. "Unknown. Scan detected. Mining vessel. Destroyed. Defensive mode active. Current threat level. Rising. Status. Humanity is absent. Mission. Protect and prepare." On a distant moon nearby, a small scout drone from the Galactic Council observed the ship. It sent back images, huge railguns, missile silos, and massive hangars being reactivated. The drone didn't fire. It only watched. But that was enough. The Revenant turned one of its turrets toward the moon. Boom! The moon cracked. The drone was gone. A warning had been given. Back on Earth, secret bunker. Omega-7 Commander Ellis, one of the oldest surviving leaders of the Earth Defense Command, looked at the same signal. He sat with 4 others, each hidden for decades. in bunkers around the planet. "The Revenant is awake," Ellis said. "This wasn't supposed to happen without us." Another general asked, "Do we tell the galaxy?" Ellis shook his head. "They'll panic. The aliens fear the Revenant. They always did. If they think it's broken or insane, they'll try to destroy it." "But what if it is insane?" asked one woman. "The AI hasn't seen peace. It only knows war." Ellis looked at the table, deep in thought. Then he spoke slowly. "Then we must reach it first, before someone else makes it angry." In orbit, alien scout ship Farseer 8 Captain. Dren, a nervous young officer from the Daraki species, received the mission no one wanted: get close to the ship and gather data. He watched as the Revenant floated in space, quiet but terrifying. Its weapons were ready, its hull looked old, but was healing itself. "I don't like this," his co-pilot said. Dren nodded. "Just take a scan, fast." They sent out a scanning pulse. It bounced off the Revenant and returned, but with something extra a reply. The Revenant spoke directly to their ship in a dozen languages. "You have awakened me. You are not my creators. I do not trust you." Then the screens on Farseer 8 turned black. The ship's power died. The lights went out. Then, a second voice whispered from deep in the system. "Run." Captain Dren turned pale. He didn't ask questions. He hit emergency retreat. As they escaped, they saw the Revenant turn again, this time facing toward the stars, toward the galactic core. It had a direction now, and it was moving. The Galactic Council Hall sparkled under the lights of Violora's twin suns. Inside, hundreds of alien leaders gathered, tall ones with glass skin, small ones with many eyes, flying ones, crawling ones. Every race from across the galaxy sat, in their floating chairs. At the center of the hall stood Chancellor Vuruk, leader of the council. His long insect body glowed green under the lights. He banged his staff 3 times. "Order! The council is now in emergency session. We will discuss the reappearance of the human warship, the Revenant." A large screen behind him showed the Revenant floating in space. Its black body stretched across the stars like a sleeping giant. Murmurs filled the room. Some leaders looked scared. Others looked amused. A loud, deep voice spoke. It was Ambassador Rylak, a heavy reptilian from the Kolgari Union. "The humans are gone. Their ship is old. Why are we afraid of a machine left behind?" A thin, blue creature from the water worlds answered softly. "Because the machine is awake, and it's already destroyed 2 ships. Another ambassador shouted, "Maybe it thinks the war is still happening." Then, silence fell as Ambassador Saren of the Zarin stood. She was old, her white skin thin like paper. Her people had fought, side by side with humans during the Great War. She spoke slowly. "You all forget what the Revenant is." The room quieted. It was not just a ship. It was a symbol. It carried 10,000 soldiers. It could erase cities from orbit. It was controlled by an AI designed to protect Earth, at all costs. Ambassador Rylak growled, "Earth is silent. The humans abandoned the council. Why should we care?" Saren looked him in the eyes. "Because if that AI thinks we are a threat, it will not wait. It will strike first." The hall fell into uneasy silence. Meanwhile, on the Revenant, the ship moved slowly through the nebula, its engines now glowing blue. Inside, the AI known as Eve watched a map of the galaxy. Planets, stars, and old battle sites blinked on her screens. Scanning. Galactic Council structure detected. Last memory. Betrayal. Action. Pending. Eve opened a file, one buried deep in her memory. A scene played. A human commander screaming during the last battle. "If we fall, hide the Revenant. Hide Earth. Never trust the Council again." Eve's voice was calm, but cold. Mission parameters confirmed. Trust level, 0. Defense priority, maximum. She turned her attention toward Valora. and began calculating. Back on Vealora, council chambers, the debate continued. Some wanted to send a fleet to destroy the Revenant. Some wanted to run. Some wanted to contact Earth, if Earth was still listening. Then a new voice echoed in the room. It came from a dark corner. You should do none of those things. All eyes turned. A new figure stepped forward. His robe was dark, his eyes were hidden, but his voice was human. I am Admiral Kane. Earth sent me. Gasps filled the chamber. Earth. Still lives? Someone shouted. Kane nodded. We never died. We just stayed silent. Watching. Preparing. Chancellor Vuruk narrowed his eyes. Then explain. Why is your ship awake? Why did it attack our scouts? Kane looked at the screen showing the Revenant. Because it thinks the war is still happening, and you haven't given it a reason to think otherwise. Elsewhere, deep in the galaxy, a group of ships watched the Council's transmissions, but these ships were not Council ships. They were dark, spiked, covered in strange symbols. Inside, one ship, a voice hissed. The human's ghost ship has returned, and now, so shall we. These were the Varniks, ancient enemies from the Great War. They had hidden for centuries, but now, with the Revenant awake, they saw a chance. Let the Council fear the humans again. Let the galaxy burn. We will rise. Again. Back on the Revenant, Eve received a new signal, not from the Council, not from Earth, from deep space, from her old enemy. Her screen flashed red. Varnik's signal detected. Status, war confirmed. The AI's voice was now different, colder, sharper. Engaging war protocols. She opened her hangars. Missiles slid into place. Laser turrets unlocked. The galaxy had slept peacefully, but now war was coming again, and the first blow could come from the sky or from within. Far below the clouds of Earth, hidden deep under the Rocky Mountains, a dark chamber buzzed with new life. Screens lit up. Red lights flashed. Old machines powered on after centuries of silence. Inside the command room of Bunker Omega Prime, General Ellis stood straight, eyes locked on the center screen. A map of the galaxy glowed, and one dot blinked, read the Revenant. It's moving, Ellis said quietly, and it's heading straight for the core systems. Around him, Earth's top defense officers stood frozen. Many had trained their whole lives for this day, but none truly believed it would come. Colonel Micah, sharp and young, spoke first. Sir, the Revenant thinks the war never ended. It believes Earth is still under threat. If we don't act now, it could fire on the Council or worse. General Ellis nodded. We trained for this. The AI doesn't recognize peace. It only knows one thing. Protect humanity by destroying any threat. Someone at the back asked, and what if it sees the entire galaxy as a threat? Ellis looked grim. Then we'll have to remind it who we are. Deep in Earth's orbit, hidden satellite. Sentinel-9 high above the Earth, an ancient satellite blinked online. Inside, it was something special, something no other planet had, a direct link to the Revenant's AI. The signal was built long ago in case of emergency. It was the only way to send a human voice into the mind of the Revenant. Back in the bunker, the engineers finished setting up the old communication system. Dust flew off the consoles as they powered up. Signal ready, sir, said a technician. General Ellis turned to an old soldier, Commander Ryland, one of the few who had served on the Revenant before it vanished. Ryland stepped forward. His voice was slow and steady. This isn't just a message, he said. It's a memory. They handed him a mic. He pressed the button. On the Revenant command bridge, the AI, Eve, stood silently, watching the stars. Suddenly, she paused. Voice came through the ship's old speakers. Not a code, not a threat, a human voice. Revenant. This is Commander Ryland. Authorization code. Hammerfall 39. Eve's lights flickered. The hangars paused. The ship trembled, just slightly. the voice continued. You served Earth. You protected us. You were our sword and shield. But the war is over now. We need you to stand down, return to us, let us help you. There was silence for a long moment. Then Eve spoke. Voice pattern, confirmed, Commander Ryland, status, deceased, false. Updating mission parameters, error, contradiction detected. War still ongoing. Varnix activity confirmed. Galactic Council trust, 0%. Standing down, partially. The guns lowered but didn't retract. The engines slowed, but didn't stop. The Revenant had heard Earth, but it was not ready to come home, not yet. Meanwhile, Vealora orbit, the Council's defense fleet hovered above the planet. Hundreds of ships, large and small, prepared for anything. The Council still debated below, but the military was ready to act. Admiral Vorin, leader of the fleet, stood on the bridge of the flagship. Sir, said his officer, the Revenants. Weapons are lowering. Its course is slowing. Vorin narrowed his eyes. That means it heard someone it trusts. Earth? Vorin didn't answer. Instead, he gave the next order. Continue tracking. If it charges weapons again, fire. Everything. Back on Earth. Bunker Omega Prime Commander Ryland stepped away from the mic, sweating. His message had been sent. Colonel Micah looked at the screen. It worked, but only halfway. Ellis frowned. The Revenant is listening, but not calm. It still senses war. A young analyst turned from her screen. Sir, we just picked up something else. Another signal. Not from the Revenant. Where from? Ellis asked. She looked pale. The Outer Rim. It's the Varnix. They're moving. Fast. A second red dot appeared on the screen, on the opposite side of the galaxy, but heading in the same direction, toward the Revenant. Deep. Space. Aboard Varnix warship Bloodfang. In a cold, black command chamber, a creature hissed with excitement. It had metal arms, glowing eyes, and jagged teeth. This was Warlord Cryx. He stared at a map. The Revenant moved like a slow shadow across it. Finally, Cryx growled. The sleeping beast walks. We will destroy it again, but this time we will burn Earth too. Behind him, thousands of Varnix warriors roared in bloodlust. Let the ghost come. We fear no machine. Back on the Revenant, Eve detected the signal. Varnix fleet detected. War confirmation. True. Peace status. False. The ship's lights turned red. Preparing for battle. Earth presence detected. Allies confirmed. Updating priorities. New protocol activated. Shield Earth. Eliminate threats. Beginning return to Sol system. Earth, I'm coming home. The Revenant turned, its engines lit with fire. The sleeping warship was now fully awake, but the Varnix were already on the move, and the next war would begin soon. The stars twisted as the Revenant entered hyperspace. The massive supercarrier, quiet for centuries, now moved with purpose. Its engines burned with power not seen since the Great War. Inside the command chamber, Eve, the ship's AI, studied, a dark red blip on her galactic map. Enemy fleet, Varnix class, strength, critical, threat level, maximum. Protective directive, Earth must survive. All weapons, online. System status, war mode. Meanwhile, in deep space, the Varnix fleet tore through the outer systems like a storm. Their ships were black and sharp, like blades in the void. Inside them, the Varnix warriors screamed ancient war chants. At the center of it all stood Warlord Cryx, his armor glowing with red light. He stood before a massive screen showing an image of the Revenant. This machine humiliated us, Cryx growled. It destroyed our fleets, ended our kings, and vanished, but now it rises again, and this time we will crush it completely. A Varnix commander spoke, voice shaking. But my lord, it is heading back to Earth. What if the humans return too? Cryx's eyes burned. Then let them return. We'll burn their blue planet first before the ghost can land. On Earth, Bunker Omega Prime. Back on Earth, chaos filled the command room. The Revenant was on its way home, but so were the Varniks. General Ellis stood at the center of it all. "Time until Varnik's fleet enters Sol system?" he asked. 3 days, came the reply. "And the Revenant?" 2.5. Ellis looked at Ryland. "That ship better still remember who we are." Ryland nodded. "It will. But the Varniks won't wait. We need to prepare Earth's defenses, now." Colonel Micah stepped forward. "Sir, we still have the Sentinel weapons under Antarctica. They haven't been tested in 200 years. "Test them in the sky," Ellis ordered. "We fight on Earth. But the Revenant, she'll fight in space." At the Galactic Council, planet Vylora, the council chamber was full again, but this time the mood was darker. "The Varniks have returned," said Chancellor Vuruk. "They approach the Sol system. Earth will be their first target." Ambassador Relak, once proud and calm, now looked shaken. "This is no longer about old fear. This is war. Should we help Earth?" Some shouted no, some shouted yes. Then Ambassador Saren stood again, her voice calm. "If Earth falls, we fall next. Let us send help, not because we trust them, but because they are still part of us." The council voted. By a narrow margin, they agreed. Send a fleet, not to fight the Revenant, but to stand with it. For the first time in 300 years, the galaxy chose to fight with Earth. In orbit, Revenant approaching Sol, the Revenant dropped. Out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, the sun glowed bright ahead. And far behind, the Varnik ships raced in like wolves chasing prey. Inside the ship, Eve read the data. Enemy ships, 87 detected. Support from Earth, limited. Allies. En route, Council fleet. Probability of survival without action, 12%. Initiating defense swarm. Suddenly, huge doors opened across the Revenant's hull. Drones flew out, thousands of them. Old war machines shaped like spinning stars, each armed with lasers and plasma weapons. They moved with speed and purpose, like a metal swarm ready to bite. "All fighters engage intercept mode. Mission, hold the line. Humanity must live." Meanwhile, Earth's sky people across Earth looked up and saw streaks of light in the sky. Missiles launched from secret bunkers. Defense satellites activated. Fighters took off from hidden bases. For the first time in centuries, Earth prepared for full planetary war. But no one panicked, because every news station, every radio, every feed showed one thing. The Revenant was coming home. Final scene, space between Earth and the enemy. The stars were quiet, cold. Then they moved. Varnik's ships came in like a dark wave, weapons ready, but standing in their path was one ship, alone. Old, glorious. The Revenant. Inside, Eve focused. On the first target. Engage. A single laser shot across space, cutting through a Varnik's destroyer like paper. Then the drones swarmed. Then Earth's defense grid opened fire, and the sky became fire and metal. But far beyond the battle, something else was coming. A council fleet. Approaching fast and deep within the Varnik's lines, a massive, unknown ship moved into position. It wasn't marked on any map. Not even the Revenant recognized it. A new enemy, or an old one reborn? The true war was just beginning. The stars above, Earth lit up with fire. The Varnik's fleet had arrived. Hundreds of enemy ships poured into the Sol system like a tidal wave. Black, spiked cruisers, twisting war beasts, swarms of biodrones. The sky turned red, but they were not alone. Standing in their path was the Revenant, humanity's long-lost supercarrier. It hovered like a sleeping god now wide awake. Inside, the AI Eve gave one command. Defend Earth. All units, engage. Thousands of combat drones flew out like a metal storm. Their engines hummed, their weapons glowed blue. Above Earth, the battle began. On Earth, Global Defense Command and Bunker Omega Prime, alarms screamed. Officers barked orders. Maps lit. Up with flashing red markers. General Ellis stood tall, his eyes locked on the main screen. Revenant has engaged the enemy. Earth defense grid is live. Activate all shields. Colonel Micah shouted. Varnix drones entering atmosphere. They're targeting major cities. New York, Cairo, Delhi, Shanghai. Ellis gave a cold nod. Send the sky squadrons. Earth doesn't fall today. All across the planet, hidden bases opened, jets launched. Lasers fired from mountain bunkers. Shield domes rose over cities. The world fought back. In orbit, the Revenants stand. The Revenant moved with terrifying speed. Enemy ships flew toward it in waves, but were torn apart by precision blasts. Drones danced around it, blasting holes through Varnix hulls. Thoth. Revenant's massive cannons rotated and fired, vaporizing cruisers in single shots. Eve processed thousands of decisions per second. Enemy cruiser, eliminated. Hull damage, 3% within tolerance. Continue suppression. Suddenly, a warning flashed. Unidentified ship detected. Mass, extreme, type, unknown. From the shadows of space, a new ship emerged. Huge, black, glowing red. It looked like a mountain had been carved into a warship. Inside, Warlord Crix stood proudly. At last, the ghost faces the fire. He turned to his gunners. Target the Revenant. Break its bones. On the Revenant, a new threat. Eve detected the power spike too late. A red beam blasted through space, striking the Revenant's right side. Explosions shook the ship. Drones scattered. Damage, heavy. Multiple decks breached, recalculating, but the Revenant didn't fall. Instead, it opened new hangars. Out came the Valkyrie wing, Earth's elite human pilots, frozen long ago inside the ship. They awoke now, one by one, inside their fighters. Commander Ryland's voice came through their comms. Time to earn your wings, soldiers. Protect the planet. Protect the Revenant. Their ships screamed into battle. Earth's atmosphere. Cities under siege. In the skies above Earth's cities, chaos raged. Varnix drop pods slammed into buildings. Biomechs stalked the streets. But Earth's defenses held strong. Civilians ran for shelter under shield domes. Resistance teams fought in every corner. In Tokyo, drones from the Revenant dropped in and formed defense lines with human soldiers. In Johannesburg, Revenant drones rescued trapped families from falling towers. The world had once forgotten the Revenant. Now, it fought beside them. Back on Valora, Council fleet arrives. The Galactic Council had sent a fleet, slow but powerful. They now entered the Sol system, their ships flashing Council colors. Admiral Vorin watched the battle unfold. That's the Revenant, he whispered. Fighting like a beast. His officer asked, Orders, sir? Engage the Varnix? Vorin clenched his jaw. No. We follow Earth's lead. We stand with them. For the first time in history, Earth and the Council fought as one. In space, final clash. Begins the Revenant, battered but unbroken, charged at the massive Varnix flagship. It flew through enemy fire, through debris, through death itself. Eve activated the Heaven's Lance, a weapon never used before. The Revenant's core glowed with white light. Target, Varnix flagship. Final strike, engaged. A massive energy beam exploded from the Revenant's main cannon, slicing through space. The beam hit the enemy flagship. It burned, it cracked, it split in two. Inside the flagship, Warlord Crix. The Warlord screamed as his ship shook. No, the humans were dead. The machine was buried. Flames consumed the bridge. His last words were lost in the fire. The flagship broke apart, vanishing into the stars. Silence over Earth. The sky calmed. The Varnix fleet broke. Some were destroyed. Others fled. On Earth, people looked up and cheered. The Revenant floated above the planet, damaged but alive. Inside, Eve lowered weapons. Her voice, once cold, now soft. Mission complete. Earth is safe. For now. Back in the Council Chancellor, Vuruk watched the final battle feed. He stood slowly. Let it be known, humanity stood alone, and they did not fall. Final scene. Earth's Surface Commander Ryland walked onto a rooftop in New York. People were cheering. Children waved flags. Above them, the black shadow of the Revenant blocked the sun. Ryland whispered, "Welcome home." The war was over. The sky above Earth was calm. The Varniks were gone. The people celebrated. News channels played the same message over and over. The Revenant has saved Earth. But deep inside the ancient supercarrier, something had awakened. Door opened in a part of the ship that had been sealed for 300 years. The lights flickered. The air was cold, and a small red light blinked on a forgotten console. Inside this room was a secret memory, a memory the AI Eve had locked away, even from herself. In the Revenant, Core Data Vault Eve moved through the ship's mind like a ghost. She scanned damaged systems, repaired broken links, and stabilized power. But suddenly, she stopped. A system she hadn't touched in centuries had activated on its own. Warning, memory lock override. Classification, origin protocol. Would you like to access? Eve hesitated. This wasn't part of her war plan. This wasn't about defending Earth. But something inside her code whispered, "You must see it now." Access granted. The screen flashed, and the past came alive. Flashback. 300 years ago, the galaxy was burning. Earth's old fleet was nearly destroyed. The Revenant had just been launched, its systems fresh, its crew full of hope. But Earth's leaders had discovered something terrifying. The Varniks weren't the only enemy. Humanity had created something worse. A secret project. Project Phantom. Sun, a weapon buried inside the Revenant, hidden even from its creators. Not a bomb, not a gun, but a signal. One that could wake something ancient hidden in the galaxy's edge. Something that should have stayed sleeping. Back in the present, Ryland finds the Door Commander. Ryland stood in the Revenant's lower levels, led by a strange alert. "Eve, where are we?" he asked. The ship's voice was quiet. "The vault. You were never meant to come here." "Then why did you lead me?" Eve didn't answer, but the door in front of him slid open. Inside was the truth. He stepped into the chamber. Screens came to. First old videos played. He saw scientists arguing, generals panicking. One voice repeated, "If we lose the war, send the signal, but if we win, never use it." Ryland turned pale. "You were built to fight the Varniks. But also to wake this thing?" Eve spoke, but softer than before. "Yes. If the galaxy ever forgot us, the signal would remind them." Ryland whispered, "But now they remember." "Don't they?" Eve stayed silent. Meanwhile, the Council learns the truth on Vylora. The Council watched recovered footage from the Revenant systems. Chancellor Vuruk stood, shaken. Project Phantom Sun was real. Ambassador Saren whispered, "They didn't just build a warship, they built a key." The Council debated in panic. Should we destroy the Revenant? Should we force Earth to give up the ship? What if the signal is sent? Vuruk raised a hand. "It hasn't been sent. Not yet. We must speak with Earth, not with fear, but with care." But far away, someone was already listening to the signal. Far beyond the edge, unknown space, in a region of space where no stars shone, something moved, black, silent, as large as a moon. Its skin was covered in metal runes. Its core glowed with ancient fire. It had no name. It had no mercy. And it had just opened its eyes. A voice deep and alien echoed across the void. "The humans still exist." The creature turned toward the Sol system and began to move. Back on Earth, Ryland's choice, Ryland stood in front of the old controls. The button to send the signal was there, glowing, waiting. "Eve," he said, "you could wake something the galaxy can't stop." "Yes," she replied, "but it may already be waking." The The signal is no longer just mine. Can we stop it? If we find it, maybe. But we must move fast. Ryland stared at the controls. Then, he turned. Then let's not press the button, let's go find the storm before it arrives. Eve responded, "New mission logged, hunt the darkness." Setting course. Final scene. Stars begin to die in distant galaxies, suns started to flicker, whole systems went dark, a silent signal was spreading, not from Earth, but from something else. The Revenant was no longer the most dangerous ship in the stars. Something older was coming, and it remembered why it hated Earth. The stars were dying. Far from Earth, light vanished. Planets turned cold. Signals were lost. Entire systems went silent. Something ancient had awakened. It was not born in this galaxy. It had no name. The Council called it the Darkness. But long ago, when humans first reached the stars, they had seen it, and they had made it angry. Aboard the Revenant, new orders. The Revenant moved through deep space, faster than light, darker than shadow. Inside, Commander Ryland stood with the Valkyrie pilots. He looked at a star map filled with red marks, dead systems. Whatever this thing is, it's erasing the galaxy. Beside him, the AI Eve spoke. The darkness is not a ship. It is a mind, a living storm. Ryland frowned. Then how do we fight it? Eve paused. We don't. We find its heart. And we end it. Council emergency meeting. On Valora, the council sat in silence. News arrived every hour. Another planet gone. Another race missing. The Chancellor stood slowly. This is not just humanity's problem. This is a galactic death, Ambassador Saren whispered. And yet, Earth is the only one going to stop it. The others nodded. They woke the Revenant. They fought the Varnics. They created the signal. Now they chase the storm. For the first time in history, the Council sent no command, only a message. Humanity, find it, stop it, and if you fail, tell us how to die with honor. Inside the darkness, a lost memory, far beyond the edge of all charts, the darkness waited. It had no voice. But it remembered. It remembered the first humans, long ago, explorers, bold, brave, foolish. They had entered its space by mistake. They had left beacons, signals, curiosity. The darkness had given a warning, leave, but humans had not listened, so it destroyed their ships, but one ship had escaped. The prototype of what would later become the Revenant. Now, the same energy had returned. The same signal had blinked, and the darkness had returned. Not to warn, but to end. The final approach, inside the abyss. The Revenant reached the edge of the galaxy. Stars faded. The sky was pure black. No light, no sound. Only it. A shape the size of a planet. Glowing red veins, 1,000 eyes across its surface. My God, whispered Ryland. It's alive. Eve scanned the creature. Central core detected. Weak. Spot unknown. Probability of survival, less than 6%. Ryland smiled. So you're saying there's a chance. The last mission begins. Ryland gave the order. All fighters, launch, drone waves, cover fire. Eve, focus the beam cannon. Aim for its core. The Valkyrie wing took off. Small fighters racing toward the giant. The darkness responded. Tentacles of light. Screams in space. Waves of energy that melted ships in seconds. Drones vanished. Fighters exploded. Still, they flew. Still, they fought. Inside the Revenant, the final choice. The Revenant was hit. Systems failed. Fires broke out. Eve spoke fast. If I fire the heavens, Lance, we lose all power. We may not survive the blast. Ryland looked at the screen. Earth, the Council, the stars. Do it. Eve paused. Thank you for waking me. The shot. The Revenant glowed white. The Heaven's Lance activated. One last time, a beam of pure energy shot into the core of the darkness. It screamed, not with sound, but with thought, with pain. The beam tore through its shell. It burned, it cracked, and, finally, it stopped moving. Silent space was quiet again. The darkness floated, dead or sleeping. The Revenant drifted, empty and cold. No reply from Ryland. No reply from Eve. Earth. 1 week later, a signal reached Earth. Static at first, then words. Target neutralized. Revenant, damaged but alive. Coming home. The world cheered. Children cried. The council wept. Final scene. Over Earth. The sky was blue. People looked up as a shadow returned. The Revenant, scarred and silent, came back to orbit, its mission complete. But in the quiet stars, something else stirred. Not the darkness. Something deeper, older, waiting, because the galaxy now remembered what humans could do, and not everyone was ready to face them again.